So we'll solve this equation. We have the log of x squared plus 2 base 2 is equal to 4. So one thing we'll pick up on to start with is domain-wise, this has to be greater than 0. So x squared plus 2 must be greater than 0. If I solve this for x, you have x squared is greater than -2. Well, that's always true. Any number squared is going to be greater than -2. So it's going to be always true. So that tells me there's not a domain restriction because, again, if you think about it, any number squared plus 2 will always be greater than 2. So there's not going to be a domain restriction at all. So since there's a single logarithm, our strategy is to put this in exponential form. So remember, to do exponential form, the 2 is the base and the 4 is the exponent. So they come together as one side. And then their side of the equation is going to be this x squared plus 2. So 2 to the 4th would be 16. So that would give us x squared plus 2 is equal to 16. If I subtract 2, that's going to give me x squared is equal to 14. And then to solve for x, you have to take the square of both sides. So x is going to equal plus or minus the square root of 14. 14, if I break it down using prime numbers, 2 goes into 14 7 times, 7 goes into 7 one time. So remember, to simplify a radical, there has to be a factor pair to bring out a factor. And since we do not have a factor pair, nothing comes out of the radical. The 14 remains. So our solution becomes then, since we want the exact answer, we leave this as plus or minus the square root of 14, or you could say the square root of 14, comma, a negative square root of 14. So either one of those you could put inside the solution set. It should take it in your homework. So if I want to double check this, so if I bring this 4 over, it's going to be a -4. So if I have y equals, and then if I use my base guy, hit the math button, put the 2 there, x squared plus 2, and then I don't need the parenthesis, oh, it was already there. And then put that -4, set it to 0, if you will. If I hit the graph button, you can kind of see that there is no domain restriction. It keeps going left, it keeps going right. There's no break in the graph. So if I find this left 0, again, what is the square root of 14 to start with, though? Square root of 14 should be 3 something, closer to 4. So 3.7, yeah, that sounds about right. So if we do this from the graphing perspective, use the calculate button, zeros. If we do left bound and right bound, hit enter again. Notice that that does give you that negative 3.741657. So if I go back and quit that, you kind of see that's very similar. So we're on the same page there. But since they want the exact answer, we need the square root of 14 and a negative square root of 14. There would be those two solutions. So if you look at your graph, notice how there are 2 zeros, and notice how they're symmetric. They're symmetric to the, this graph is actually even function since it's symmetric to the y-axis.